Hello everyone, this is Patrick and welcome to another edition of Patrick's Points. This is our week 3, module 3, where the focus is on reading fluency. Critical skill for struggling readers who are the focus of this class. It is often what, especially as they move up the grades, really holds back struggling readers, is developing that fluency. You're going to read a couple of great pieces from great experts in reading fluency, Randy O'Connor in the chapter, and then from Hudson and her colleagues at the University of Washington. So I'm going to make this shorter, briefer, just highlight things that I think are really vitally important and maybe elaborate a little bit on what you're going to read in the books. Okay, so let's jump right in with the what and why. I consider fluency accurate automatic text reading. It is the kind of text reading that allows for maximum possible comprehension. Okay, you'll see that other people will add other things to that definition, dealing with reading with expression and so forth. But there's no doubt in my mind that the critical part of this is this accurate automatic text reading. That is what, as we've seen in the past, frees up our mental resources to think about what the text means. Okay? Joe Torgerson, someone who I met many years ago and is really one of our leading researchers in the area of reading fluency, particularly with students who struggle, did some work and identified the biggest factor in students' ability to read a passage fluently is the percentage of words in that passage that we can read automatically by sight. And that makes perfect sense. If we're largely defining text reading fluency as automatic text processing, then the percentage of words that we read automatically by sight is the biggest contributor to our fluent text reading. If you think about it, if a student is having to stop and sort of carefully, letter by letter, chunk by chunk, decode or try to use context to figure out a word, obviously that's going to slow them down, make it more halting, make it more effortful, and take away from those mental resources that they want to apply to comprehension. So, the critical skill for building up text reading fluency is helping kids develop this sight word lexicon, this dictionary that they walk around with in their head of words that they recognize automatically by sight. All right? This is largely a practice effect. I tend to say that decoding is largely a knowledge effect. For a kid to be able to decode the word rain, we need to teach them that AI says A, and of course the R and N, and once they have that knowledge, they should be effectively able to decode rain. Now, to automatize the word rain is no longer a knowledge effect, it's a practice effect. It means that they're decoding it over and over and over again, laying down that sort of map in memory until it's well established and they see the word rain and it automatically brings up the pronunciation rain and the meaning of rain. Okay, so it takes multiple successful decoding to turn words into sight words. That means for kids to become fluent, they have to be able to decode, because that's what's going to eventually lead to automaticity. And then they have to see lots of words. They have to have lots of practice. Okay, so it's decoding skill plus high reading volume, good effective reading practice that leads to this fluent text reading. Now, another thing that Joe Torgerson has taught us, and we saw this in the fall class, we actually put Joe Torgerson's charts from his research in your hands, is the critical role of early reading intervention in terms of the development of reading fluency. Because If a student struggles with decoding in the early grades, and we don't catch that, and we don't intervene until, let's say, they're in 4th grade, we can change that. In 4th grade, we can help them become more competent decoders. We can give them the knowledge that it takes to decode words effectively. What we can't give them is the other side of the equation, which is the practice that they will have missed out from 1st grade until 4th grade. Their more competent peers who became good decoders in 1st grade have been reading at a high clip for 3 years. And it is that practice that has made them fluent readers. Our 4th grader, who couldn't decode very well for all those years and thus didn't get a lot of effective reading practice, now suddenly can decode. But there's a huge practice gap. Now, with early intervention, we try to remediate that decoding difficulty before that practice gap has time to develop. And so what we saw, if you can see this in the video, with Joe Torgeson's charts, was when they did early intervention, kindergarten, 1st grade, this black column is their decoding ability. The orange column is their fluency rate. And those two columns were pretty comparable. As they became better decoders, they became more fluent readers. This is what those same columns looked like in interventions with older readers. All of a sudden, their decoding ability shoots up. They become as accurate as their peers, but their fluency lags far behind because now they're missing out on that practice effect. Okay, they suddenly can decode in 4th grade, but they haven't had 3 years of practice to turn those words into sight words. Okay, and this kid is left in the very difficult position of basically now being able to decode, but to raise this fluency score, they need to read a lot. Basically, they need to read a lot more than their more competent peers who are already fluent readers. Well, good luck with that, right? We take a kid who is a halting, hesitating, disfluent reader and say, okay, what you need to do to become fluent is to read more than the kids who are already fluent. And that's a very difficult, thorny issue that occurs with later strugglers that we try to avoid by early intervention. Help the kids break through early on so that they can get the reading volume they need to develop fluency. All right, I think that's a critical point, and it is the one that underscores the vital importance of early reading intervention. All right, well, let's ask the question, since we're talking about fluency and sort of reading rate, does the speed at which kids read matter? And this is a big, hot issue these days with the testing and so forth. You want to pause?